massive tiny fishes all in trapeze. The Japanese are watching the garden growing on an island. Surround the mountain, run your fingers through the filings. Ear to the ground, I sit through piles of falling letter. Copying keys rolled on my sleeves as a part of
The books are Nick Zamutu and Paul de Jong. One is American, one is Dutch, and they met in New York. I think I could probably guess which is which. Their music has been described as being a genre of its own. They released their first album in 2002 and their fourth, the most recent, in 2010. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the first album by the Books, and it's my first encounter with them in any shape or form, as far as I know. As I said in the band introduction, they're often regarded as being their own kind of genre on their own. And I think I'd probably label them as experimental music. Let's try and dig into that. Musically, actually, is not that unusual. So it's recognizable and straightforward chord sequences at play most of the time. But sonically, as in the sounds they use, they're quite unusual. They do use melodic instruments, things that have notes. Mostly, they seem to be using stringed instruments. There's cello, violin, both of those are plucked at times and bowed at other times. There's guitars, there's bass, there's banjo, and there may be other things in here. That's just the things I could recognise by ear, and there's some things that I was kind of struggling to work out what on earth they could be. So there may be self-created stringed instruments, I don't know. So the information that I've looked up says that they do self-created instruments. Some of the instruments that I've heard sound very much like, cellos and banjos and things like that. So unless, they could be very skilled, they could be making their own cellos, but I think that's less likely. But they might have made some of their own kind of, maybe something like the cigar box guitars, or I'm just guessing. This is all complete speculation, so let's move on. Percussion apparently is mostly found things rather than proper drums and drum kit, things that they found that make nice sounds when they hit them. Often the playing is quite kind of interleaved, so you might get notes from one instrument that are interleaved with notes from another one and several others. This is a thing that I believe is quite a common thing in gamelan music, which is from Indonesia. I'm not sure, but is a thing that King Crimson embraced quite a lot for a while. And along with all this, the sound and samples, so sound effects and speech samples, apparently taken from their own library of tapes and records and things to sample stuff from. There's quite a lot of speech samples. And then occasionally there's bits of singing as well on here. But that's quite, in the minority, very much so. There's quite a range of tracks. So they do have what I am starting to call the modern art vague aura of unspecified significance, which is, it kind of generates this feeling that it's got some kind of significance, but you leave it up to the commentators to actually create that significance in their commentary. What else can I say? There's one of the tracks called Motherless something that I'm not going to use the word on my channel, which has the introductory bits of speech, somewhat disturbing. It's got the last track, I think it is, Deaf Kids, which is I found quite uplifting and joyful. It's got a track which is kind of reminded me of Frank Zappa's kind of sense of humour, which is called calls A Dead Fish Gains the Power of Observation. And it's got a kind of slow intonation of a poem through it. It's weird, but it's kind of good. It's maybe not my central kind of weirdness that I like, but it's certainly a reasonable kind of weirdness. So I did enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoyed listening to it. So at this point, I'm not sure that this is going to be particularly well known by people out there. But if you do know it, I'd love to know what you think. And if you don't know it and you want to have a listen, please let me know what you think. And that's it from me for now.